I've spent today redoing the office. As you can see, if you are participating in this particular SitRep via visual means, if you're listening to it on the podcast, you have no idea what I'm talking about right now. But things look different behind me. There's stuff happening. Yes, this is the SitRep. Welcome to the situation report for today, which is, what are we at? The 4th of September, 2022. Welcome. Thank you for joining me, and a very happy Father's Day to all those out there who are fathers / father figures in somebody's life. Good on you for doing it. Some people don't. Some people don't step up to that responsibility. So if you did, then you get my congratulations and thanks for what you do for the world. Keep it up. Keep it up, big guy. Doing great. I think it's probably more important than ever, really, that we really celebrate these kind of humans that step up and act as fathers for those out there who need them. Especially in the current situation we find ourselves in the world. I think good, appropriate fathers are one of the most important things that we can have in this world at the moment. Anyway, moving right along into the SIT report, the situation rep, the SitRep situation report. What's going on in the world today? It's crazy for a Sunday, at least. A lot of stuff happening. So I didn't do a SitRep yesterday. I had a black tie event for my former employer many moons ago, which was the military, specifically the commandos, and it was great. It was good. I mean, it was long. There's long speeches. It's cool. It's fine. I liked it. Got a cool coin out of it too. What was interesting about that, and what I want to lead off with today, is this news here. Australia is currently in 1938. So one of the people that got up there, which was a very high-ranking individual, I'm not naming any names or ranks or anything like that, but somebody who has connections, who has viz on things that are going on that maybe none of us can actually see. Maybe the average person, and especially news cycle, cannot see this sort of information. Basically got up there and said it was a pretty grim speech, actually. Afterwards, all of us were like, wow, okay. Used the words, and I quote, "Australia is currently sitting in the position we were in 1938, i.e., what they were talking about was 1938, for those of you who might not be engrossed in very basic history, was the year before World War II started. So turmoil, shifts were happening, and war was about to break out. So essentially, that's what this person was saying, that we're within 12 months of a horrific and huge war. And I think the other words, if I can remember the quote properly, were, we are currently in or seeing one of the largest power shifts within the world. So that's what we're going through at the moment, according to this person, according to this individual. Other people might disagree with that. Other people might look at that and go like, well, this person being a general of sorts, that sort of level of human being, it's their job to look at war, right? It's their job to look at war and prepare for war. So that's what they're doing. They're focusing in on that. So is it real? Is it not real? Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But, pretty telling sign. And it sort of made my eyes open a little bit. I was like, okay, wow. You've got individuals like that who are talking to a crowd of us, of individuals like myself, who are some serving, mostly ex-serving military, saying, the balloon's about to go up. We're at 98 red balloons right now. We're just waiting on that 99th to float by. Very interesting stuff, I'm sure you will agree. But something we should all think about. Like, I've been talking about this for a while, and it's not exactly like a revelation, like war might happen. We know what's going on here as individuals. To have somebody who prefaced their speech with I seen some shit, as in I've been looking at stuff today, and here's what's going down. It wasn't on that level. It wasn't like breaking operational security or anything. It was just like, hey, I've got access to information, and let me tell you, like, this is what I see. Yeah, that's pretty interesting. All right, another general sort of information type thing that's going on at the moment that I saw come up. This one was let me get this right, a report that got released by Verisk Maplecroft, which is a UK-based risk consulting firm who have put out a number of these sorts of reports lately. This one, I've already talked about this in the past, but it's getting spun back up again and getting pushed into the news cycle a little bit more because I think they've updated some of the information in it. And it's essentially that they've done a risk management model based on countries. There's 190 something countries they looked at and said, who is at a higher risk of civil unrest now and will be at a higher risk in a year's time. And they said a lot. Basically, they said, let me get some numbers here. They said 101 out of 198 countries have increased and are increasing their risk of civil unrest. So you hear me coming out and talk about this sort of stuff all the time, maybe, talking, oh, look, there's more civil unrest. Hey, I think civil unrest is going to increase in the world. I'm not just pulling that out of my ass. I actually am reading reports and I'm looking at statistical data here and going, okay, here's what other experts are saying. Not other experts, actual experts are saying, because I wouldn't put myself in that basket. But here's what experts are saying about this. Here's also what I'm seeing anecdotally or experientially. And I think this is where we're heading as a world. We're heading for increased civil unrest, i.e. protests, riots, people upheaval, destroying their own country, destroying their own cities. And there's one or two stories that I will go on with today that is actually occurring. So that's something I wanted to point out again this morning too. They're probably the two big things that I wanted to talk about is, 1938, 1 year to go, or maybe a couple of months to go, and we're going to be in it, and increased civil unrest. Especially this report here was talking about increased civil unrest due to socioeconomic pressures. And what we're talking about there is increasing food prices, increasing cost of living, probably primarily being the ones that are going to push people into activities like civil unrest. Some of the countries they looked at, these are some of the countries that have had civil unrest. So I've already talked about these, some of them ad nauseum, but just to give you a little snapshot: Sri Lanka, Peru, Kenya, Ecuador, Iran, all throughout Europe. But we've got new forecasts on places that we haven't really thought about so much. Other countries within Europe, US is high on this list, and I believe Australia is even making the jump in there. Places like Norway, Jordan, Algeria, like Kosovo. Kosovo obviously increasing in its threat risk at the moment. A lot of places. Like I said, 101 countries out of 198, so over 50%, 60% or thereabouts. Countries looking at increased civil unrest as we move forward into this year and next. Also, just before, I didn't catch the story for it, but just quickly read or heard a report that was talking about some major, it was an insurance company or an underwrite company or something like that said food prices will definitely be more than they have been in 2021, 2022. So 2023 is going to be worse for food prices. All right, let's jump around the world now. We'll start off in Indonesia. Indonesian police is cracking down on people protesting over rising fuel prices and cost of living crisis. What was I just talking about? China now. China actually posted a little story on this. 21 million people went into lockdown, as I said on my last report, and surprise, surprise, panic buying. People are going crazy, fighting each other, buying car loads of food. And there's photos and things like that. And check out my posts for some of those photos. Meat just getting packed into back seats, people freaking out. And I don't blame them. To be honest, like China, who knows how long you're going to be locked down for. And after what we saw in Shanghai last time, yeah, it's not a good sign. Little bit of a weather report now coming into China. You've got clear skies followed by cloudy weather and a super typhoon. Super typhoon barrels towards China. Major shipping lanes in the path. As if shipping and our supply chains weren't attacked enough already. Now we've got weather effects on this with a super typhoon. Notice the super in front of it. And I talked about super typhoon hitting Japan. Well, this one's a Category 5 super typhoon. The same one, sorry. Now looking to smash into China, and not just China, but specifically into parts where there is a major shipping lane. Jump over to Bangladesh now. More civil unrest. Disgruntled Bangladesh citizens protest against what? Rising cost of living. Oh my God. Who saw that coming? All of us did. We all saw this coming. And that's due to things like diesel, gas, food is involved in here. I don't think rent is actually wrapped up in there with Bangladesh, but I wouldn't be surprised if it is. All right, let's jump over to Europe now. 60% of British factories / industry shutting down. So this was a report that was put out by, who was put it? It was a survey. I'm not sure who did the survey, but it was a survey on businesses, and 6 out of 10 reported they're at risk of being shut down due to prices. So it's self-reporting. Take that for what it is. Vox sort of reporting too, where you go and ask human beings who generally across the board are idiots, as we know. So take it with a grain of salt, but still, it's not outside the realm of possibility, because statistically speaking, we are seeing this happen within UK at the moment. Like, a lot of businesses have been closing down. Czech Republic now, more civil unrest there. So tens of thousands of Czechs protested in Prague. By the way, one thing I didn't mention is that apparently we're at the peak now. This is the most civil unrest in X amount of time. I think it's like a month-long period or something. But going on at any one point in the world, we're at the record again. And I think we're at the record last week, and we're at the record again because it's even more. And this is topping 2019, which was the highest that we'd ever seen. Dip off after 2019, after we all got locked indoors for 2 years, and now coming back with a vengeance. So Czech Republic, 70,000 people apparently in the streets there protesting against their government because rising cost of living again. This was a super interesting one for me. Russia's biggest taxi service was hacked. I got to say, hackers scare the shit out of me. Hackers also amuse the hell out of me with some of the stuff they do. I'm like, wow, that was really clever. This one is definitely on the clever side. They hacked the biggest Russian taxi company and then sent all their taxis to the same spot at the same time. So can you imagine just, where was it, an airport or something like that? One of the major avenues in Moscow. So Moscow, just got swamped by all these taxis at once, and all the taxi drivers are looking at each other and going, what are you doing here? I got sent here. I got sent here too. We're like, our computer system just told us to come here. Again, but another example, why I'm putting this up here for us as preparedness-minded human beings, this is absolute reliance on internet-based systems. So their computer system organizes where the cabs go. So if somebody can get into that, as we can see, it can shunt all the cabs there. Now, you probably don't drive a cab, I imagine. Maybe you drive an Uber or something on the side, but maybe not going to affect you, immediately. But this sort of stuff could affect you. This could happen to Google Maps. We're all navigating around one morning and somebody hacks Google Maps and says, yeah, this is the best route to go. And all of a sudden, bang, we're in this huge traffic jam. Or it could be used to divert people away from an area that they maybe don't want people to go to. You start to see how this actually works out, how our reliance on these systems can actually be used against us quite easily. So again, don't rely on these sorts of systems. Have backups, have hard copy maps and things like that. Have these in your car. I don't know what they're called, but road atlas maps. I grew up in Melbourne, so it was called Melways, and that's the only thing I know it as. I guess as a Sidways, maybe. But anyway, that's what I know it as. Have one of them. Have hard copy maps in your car, so you're not beholden to your phone navigating you around. Also in Russia, very funny one. Me and my brother were just talking about this the other week, about how we believe there should be a way to get people who are incarcerated in prison and maybe rehabilitate them through military service. That's one of our crazy ideas. Anyway, Russia is doing it. Facing severe manpower shortages, Russia now recruiting from prisons, says the US intelligence. So this is anti-propaganda coming from the US side. Charlie Cause says, actually purchased a New South Wales road atlas a few weeks ago. Awesome. Great work. Awesome. That's this is basic stuff that you should have in your car, having your bug out bags, having your kit, some sort of backup maps that you're not, as you can see up there, there's some maps. I don't know which way I'm pointing now. Map and compass sort of stuff. It's all just kind of example gear so people can look at it and go like, oh, what's that? And then ask questions. But map and compass, I've got one of them in my bug out bag. Like I said, I've got these sort of maps and things like that in my car as well. So these are the sort of things we want to think about. All right, back to Russia. Severe manpower shortages, recruiting from prisons. This makes total sense to me. But is this propaganda just coming from the US to let everyone know, oh, look how much they're losing the war? Yes, they're having to recruit from prisons now. Or this is just Russia being Russia, really. I am surprised Russia wasn't already doing this, to be honest. You're going to get violent individuals in prison. You want violent individuals in your military. It makes sense. And I'm going to juxtapose this. I'm going to skip to another story here, just so you can see left and right of the not left and right of politics, but left and right side of our arcs of what's actually happening here. So Russia recruiting from prisons, violent individuals, people who have proven that they are antisocial, that cannot fit in, and we're going to get them to do antisocial, non-fitting in things like fight war, which is a horrific thing to do. I can attest to that because I've done it. It's not a very normal thing to do. It's not a normal place to be. So you want to get abnormal human beings doing that, right? Okay. Let's just juxtapose this quickly with this story. US-based tasked with confronting China, so there's a US base and they've got the job. They're like, hey, you're going to have to confront China. And by the way, this is probably going to happen. Like I said, we're at 98 out of 99 red balloons right now. Luftballons. No, I'm not going to sing it. I'm not doing it. Not today. Don't ask. So it's about to go up. These people need to be ready for war. US base tasked with confronting China, ordered to stop using gender pronouns. That's what's important. Okay? That's the most important thing. You're about to go to war. I don't want you assuming gender. We're going to lose. We're fighting hardened criminals. We're going to fucking lose. That's all there is to it. I'm sorry. My tip for the day is start learning Mandarin. If this is what we're dealing with right now, I don't know what to say. Unless we've got some cat in the bag there, some magic trick we can pull out, some piece of technology that none of us know about that they're just going to whip out on everyone. I got bad news for you. It ain't going to work. It's a pretty sad state of affairs as far as I see it. Terrifying as far as I see it, in fact. All right. So let's jump in back over to Europe. Exorbitant rise in energy prices is forcing Europe's top steel maker to close its plants. This is coming on the back of aluminium or aluminum for you Americans. Aluminum or aluminium plants that are closing down all throughout Europe. That's a huge problem. Massive, massive problem. I'm not going to explain it again, but aluminium is used in everything and we need it. We absolutely need it. Steel is also used in everything, and we absolutely need it. These things shutting down, this is not pointing to a good situation, especially if you think about going to war. I mean, do we make any war stuff out of steel? I don't know. Tanks, maybe. Anyway, a number of these stories, have got sent to me from one of my sources, and that source, who is in Europe and is in the rough area of Europe where things are kind of going a bit, but not in there, just off from being in there, if you catch my drift, sent me a really, really cool piece of information, which I'm begging you to please send me more. This country in particular, they've been told that they're going to get supplied with potassium iodine. Potassium iodine you're going to use in case of radiation poisoning or sickness, like fallout and that sort of stuff. So that helps alleviate that. Where is this heading? When governments are starting to go, hey, you're going to need this. There's been a number of other key pieces of information this person has given me about people building bunkers, about like generally the mindset of the people over there, which I find fascinating. And if I get the opportunity, I would love to go over there and actually test the waters, or immerse myself there and try and figure it out myself. But super interesting stuff that's coming out of there. And watch this space. Why would governments do that? Governments don't do anything willy-nilly. They have plans, roughly. Sometimes those plans are totally wrong, but they're obviously seeing, they've got access to information that maybe some people don't. You've got nuclear weapons that are definitely deployable over there. You've got Europe's largest nuclear power plant being allegedly bombarded daily. You're going to get that information. Peter Rouse, good afternoon to you, sir. Ukraine will attempt to cause a meltdown, he is saying. And totally, that's what I'm kind of alluding to here, and looks like something like that's on the cards. All right, let's jump over to Puerto Rico. Puerto Ricans dump broken appliances over outages. So this is yet again another civil unrest problem. This one in particular is an energy problem. So they're having rolling blackouts. They're having a series of blackouts that have been happening. And one of the issues that can happen when you're getting blackouts, brownouts, and power surges when the power comes back in is your appliances. Any appliance that is plugged into that, if you get energy spikes, can quite easily be destroyed. Puerto Ricans are finding that out, where they've got a whole heap of appliances that now no longer work. So they've fed up and they've gone into their government buildings and they are dumping fridges and air conditioning units and washing machines and all the white goods that are now broken and don't work. They're just dumping them there and saying like, yo, these power outages and energy shortages, they gots to stop. All right. How are we going to fix this? Maybe we can all get electric cars. Sure, that'll fix the network, won't it? No, this is a huge problem, and it's not going away, and it's just going to get worse. And we'll start feeling it soon here in Australia. Peter Rouse says EMP shield works to protect. Yes. Also, making sure that you do things like simple circuit breaker, what do you call them? Power boards. I can't remember. I'm totally blanking on what they're actually called, but they've got a cut-off switch in them that cuts off if there is a power surge, so your goods don't get destroyed. You should be using those. I use those on my stuff. Some things I have EMP shielded, but that's kind of for different reasons. And then in case of a blackout, I usually go around and turn off the power points as well. So these are all things that you need to think about. especially if we start finding ourselves in a situation like Puerto Rico at the moment, where the power is constantly going on and off and dimming and browning out and coming back on and all that kind of stuff. I've lived and worked in countries like this quite a bit over the past sort of 20 years. And I've lost a few key pieces of equipment. I've lost laptops. I've had mobile phones that still work, but are massively deteriorated with their battery life and things like that. I've lost GPS units to this. So it is real. The struggle is real. Your appliances will get destroyed, especially things like low-tech appliances, like your fridges, like your washing machines, like your microwaves and your air conditioning units and stuff like that. They will get destroyed quite easily if you've got series of blackouts and power surges. There was somebody reporting also on some massive solar flare that was brewing as well. And that sort of thing can do this as well. It generally doesn't. It works on a different wavelength when we're getting coronal mass ejection. So the pulse that we're getting there, or the energy spike that we're getting, doesn't generally affect smaller electronics, more large electronics. Peter Rouse says, generator on auto switch to protect when power comes back on from surge. Yes. Very, very good idea. Let's jump into the US of A now. Evacuations ordered, highway closed as wildfires rage in just north of Los Angeles. They're obviously still, going through their drought conditions there. Still a lot of fires happening there. A lot of people have kind of forgotten about that and don't really want to talk about it, but they're still suffering over there. Their water issue is getting worse, much worse. And lastly, I'll just touch on this story because you probably would have seen this on Instagram or on any of the news channels if you've been watching it, but the assassination attempt on the vice president of Argentina. Like, I watch some of these videos where people escape death sometimes, and I'm just like, please rush out and buy a lottery ticket now. I don't know how you did it. You can see the video. The person waves the gun right in her face and pulls the trigger, and you can see them. Obviously, not expert at firing pistols because they flinched when pulling the trigger, expecting the bang. Shouldn't do that. Just FYI. But yeah, pulls the trigger, snatches, and nothing happens. And then they have this freeze moment where they're like, oh, nothing happened. If they had have just reset and pulled the trigger again, then she would be dead. But they didn't. Allegedly, the firearm, I need to go look at the video again. It was the version I looked at was a bit grainy. Allegedly, what I heard was that it was actually a revolver, and a revolver takes 6 rounds of ammunition in it, and they loaded it with 5 rounds of ammunition for some unknown reason. And the empty chamber was the one that they pulled the trigger on. So lucky day. Maybe. The tinfoil hat version of myself looks at all that and goes, that's convenient. That an assassin would only load their weapon with 5, not 6 rounds. And then very lucky that they happen to pull the trigger on the chamber that was unloaded. But anyway, that's allegedly what happened there. This adds into the whole picture that I've been talking about, though. The civil unrest, the hunting down of and the assassination attempts and assassination of political leaders or ex-political leaders that we've been seeing lately. This has been happening all over the world. In fact, we've had a number of countries where their leaders have had to go. I think it was Sri Lanka's actually has just returned to Sri Lanka after having to escape with their lives. Pakistan recently with Imran Khan, who didn't leave the country allegedly, but had to take off out of his residence. But we've been seeing this all over the place. Bangladesh as well. I just reported on Bangladesh. They were actually hunting down politicians, which when I say it out loud, kind of fills me with joy in some weird way. Anyway, that should give you a snapshot of what I think about politicians. All right, that is it for today. So, madman world that we live in. Crazy stuff going on, a lot of civil unrest, and as I said at the start there, civil unrest set to increase. But apart from that, what can we do about it? We can protect ourselves as best as we can. Especially when we're thinking about civil unrest. Civil unrest requires human beings. So if we avoid places with large congregations of human beings, we're probably going to avoid places of civil unrest. So think about that. Think about how you've structured your life and whether you are beholden or stuck in a situation where you have to be around a large amount of human beings. And if you are, maybe look at changing that. As I said at the start, happy Father's Day to all the fathers out there, all the people who are stepping up and acting as fathers and doing that good thing. The world needs it right now. After seeing the world's father figure in Joe Biden give a horrifically scary speech, I don't know what the fuck was going on there. Honestly, I was watching that, and until I actually saw somebody who is a very reputable source post up about it, I actually thought it was a deep fake. I thought the whole thing was fake. I'm like, there is no chance that the president of the United States could get up with red banners and lights in the background with military Marines sitting in the background and give this, the other side of politics, the people who do not agree with me are terrorists. I'm like, this is a joke. Surely this has to be a joke. It's not. But this is the kind of people that are leading our world right now. This is not patriarchy. Okay, this is childish human beings. Patriarchy, patri means father. That is not a father. That is not a loving father. That is not a powerful father. That is not a strong father. That is not a father figure at all. That is scared human beings. Childish human beings, in my opinion. So yeah, ignore that side of things if you are a father, and I hope that you are being a good father figure. As I said, whether you are actually a father or somebody who stepped up to the role, then happy Father's Day to you and keep up the good work. All right, gang, that's it for today. I hope you're well. If you've got any questions, send them through to me, as always. If you've got any cool stories and things like that, send them through to me, as always. I haven't been checking a lot of the comments, actually, so I need to get around that. But yeah, please feel free to send stuff through to me. Would love to hear your comments, your thoughts, your questions, anything from you guys, what's going on, or your preps, what you're up to. But apart from that, spring has sprung down here in the Southern Hemisphere, so get out in the garden and start planting. Get that stuff ready because, like I said, food's not going to get any cheaper. All right, gang, stay safe out there. Semper Paratus.